Samantha, you hate me, don't you? I asked Samantha, a stunning department head who has a reputation for not liking males, this difficult question while intoxicated. She started by saying, I'm embarrassed to be seen that way, before disclosing an unexpected explanation for her lack of interest in men. John is my name. My age is 38. I worked in New York after I graduated from college, but I left because I was tired of a demanding job and went back to my hometown in Texas. I was lost for a time until Mike, a classmate from middle school, asked me to join his company and said, "Come work with us." It turned out to be a dependable company that has been producing lighting fixtures for 50 years, despite my suspicions that it might be a dubious enterprise. The president, Mr. Smith, met me in business attire throughout the interview. He was a really good guy, full of smiles. During the interview, they unexpectedly provided coffee and jelly. The final words were serious yet felt casual. "We'll contact you in about a week with the results." "When can you start?" they inquired over the phone. I was ecstatic and found it hard to believe. This is how I got assigned to sales, and within a month, I felt at home in the company. Most of the employees were locals, and casual conversations with colleagues about family and personal lives revealed unexpected connections. My sister might have worked with you at the same part-time job in high school. Or, I used to live near your house. Has that barber shop closed down? It was a homey place, perfect for me. However, Samantha was not a local. She stood about 5'9", her striking beauty making her seem unapproachable. Her competence had earned her the position of department head by the age of 35. She had worked at a major company in New York, but carried an extremely aloof demeanor. When I submitted work she had requested, she would barely thank me and avoid eye contact. Yet, with female employees, she would smile warmly and say, "Thanks, Olivia, that was quick and really helpful." She might be called a cool beauty, but her attitude toward men and women was starkly different. Her overly formal attitude left me feeling dry. "Samantha hates men," Mike said one evening, sipping whiskey at a bar. "She really doesn't like them." Did something happen? Well, being that tall. Even if she's pretty, she's out of the ordinary. Mike frowned. "True, she's taller than most men, but I think she's attractive," I said. Mike, looking up at my height, replied enviously, "That's because you're taller than Samantha." "Hey, you should date her." Indeed, I'm 6 feet tall, taller than Samantha, but I've always liked tall women. My family is tall, and growing up, I thought my 5'8" mother was cool. I find tall women attractive, but even if I like her, she might not feel the same about me. I can't just date her. I think Samantha particularly dislikes me. It happened a week ago. I went on a day trip to San Antonio and bought some cookies as souvenirs. "I'll leave Samantha's share here," I said, trying to place them on the corner of her desk. She coldly rejected them, saying, "I don't need them." Honestly, I was quite shocked. I made up excuses. Maybe she doesn't like sweets, or she's on a diet, just to convince myself. Indeed, she does seem particularly cold to you. Maybe it's that thing where you're mean to someone you like, Mike teased. His comment made me nearly spit out my drink. "What are you talking about?" I exclaimed. "It's only you who's taller than Samantha. Maybe she's cold because she sees you as a man." That's impossible. There's no way that could be true. Sure, I'm tall, but I'm not good looking. Lately, I've even started to develop a belly. I'm an unremarkable guy who doesn't attract women at all. I dismissed the thought. There's no way Samantha sees me as a man. After a night of drinking, I made it to work the next day and focused on my tasks. Around 3 p.m., just as I was catching up on paperwork, something happened. "Samantha, I'm so sorry. I made a mistake with the order, and they said they needed delivered today," cried Amy, a 23-year-old colleague who already had a 1-year-old child. "Then we have no choice but to deliver it directly. Is the product in our warehouse? Samantha asked. Amy replied apologetically, Yes, it's confirmed, but the delivery location is out of state. A 2-hour drive. And I have to pick up my child, so it's tough for me. Samantha sighed. Then I'll go. Oh, but I have documents that I must finish by tonight. The usually composed Samantha looked genuinely troubled. I'll go, I offered, standing up and approaching Amy. I'm free right now. Really? Amy's eyes filled with gratitude. Really? That would be a huge help, Samantha said softly. I loaded the products into the car at a warehouse 30 minutes away and set off for the 2-hour drive to the client. I'm off then, I said, jingling the car keys. John, please take care, Samantha said, seeing me off. The client was an interior design company scheduled to install the lighting fixtures the next day. I'd arrived after 6 p.m., expecting a grumpy old man to scold me for the order mistake. Instead, I was greeted by a young, pretty woman in charge. I'm so sorry you had to bring this all the way here, she apologized, making me feel awkward. Insisting I take a break, she treated me to coffee and pound cake in the lounge. Her name was Jessica. She was 28 and the daughter of the company's president. I guess you'll be taking over the business someday, I said without thinking. No, I'd rather get married if I find someone willing, she replied with a gentle smile. I thought to myself, someone like her would definitely find a good match soon. When I returned to the office, it was past 9 p.m. I didn't expect anyone to be there, but to my surprise, Samantha was still in the sales department. It seemed like she was waiting for me. I'm sorry for troubling you, she said. No, I should be thanking you. I really appreciate your help, she added, her tone of sincere gratitude warming my heart. Let's head home, shall we? I turned off the lights in the office and locked up. On our way to the parking lot, Samantha suddenly asked, Would you like to grab dinner together? I was surprised. Samantha and I were far from close. In fact, she seemed to have a certain aversion to me. I doubted that two people like us, with such a strained relationship, would have much to talk about over dinner. It might just end up being awkward. As I hesitated, she quickly added, Sorry, you can say no if you don't want to. Thinking that declining might hurt her feelings, I cheerfully said, Let's go. I'm actually really hungry. It was late, so only diners and places serving alcohol were open. Since we had driven, we couldn't drink alcohol, but we decided to go to a popular local grill. By the way, this was also the place where I had drinks with Mike. Welcome. Table for two. Upon entering the restaurant, we were greeted by a delicious, appetizing aroma. My stomach immediately started to rumble. We were led to a small table in the corner. The distance between us was quite close. A soft, flowery scent wafted from Samantha. Maybe it was her shampoo. Being so conscious of her femininity, I felt strangely excited. What would you like to drink? The waiter asked. I ordered Coca-Cola, but Samantha said, Actually, I do want a drink. John, will you join me? We can call a cab for the car. I didn't know she liked alcohol that much and smiled wryly. Of course, I'll keep you company until we're both tipsy. So, we ordered beer. Somehow, I think we both expected we'd end up drinking. After all, why choose a grill otherwise? After the first beer, we switched to wine. Samantha and I surprisingly had the same taste in alcohol, as we recommended our favorite brands to each other. We both got quite drunk. Samantha, you hate me, don't you? Fueled by alcohol, I finally asked the difficult question. No, that's not true, she said, looking away. But you dislike men, right? It's pretty well known among the male employees, I pressed further. Samantha sighed. I'm embarrassed to be seen that way, especially as a manager. I didn't realize I was doing it. Then she began to tell me why she was cold toward men. Her height had always been a complex for her. She had been tall since childhood, reaching her current height in middle school. Since boys developed later, all of them were shorter than her. Rather than seeing her as a girl, some even mockingly called her tall girl. Samantha had given up on being treated like a girl. However, in high school, things changed. Boys taller than Samantha started to appear. She became close to a 6'0" boy from the basketball team. On Valentine's Day, she bravely confessed her feelings, but he rejected her, saying, "Sorry, I think girls should be at most 5'7". That became a trauma for me," she admitted. "I've been uncomfortable around tall boys ever since." I thought it was a terrible story. Many understand that it's wrong to insult someone's appearance with words like fat or ugly, but why don't they realize that negatively commenting on someone's height can be just as hurtful? Then Samantha muttered softly, "You prefer shorter girls, don't you, John?" "No, actually, I think I prefer taller women. It's more like they make me feel at ease." Samantha looked surprised, so I explained, "Everyone in my family is tall, and even my mother is 5'8". I grew up thinking my mother was cool. Does that make me sound like a mama's boy?" Samantha shook her head. There are people like that. She looked genuinely happy. It was the first time I had seen Samantha smile so naturally. She was so cute that my heart started racing. After that, Samantha and I began to go out for drinks occasionally. Although the atmosphere never turned romantic, we started talking more informally, like friends. Then one day, I was called in by Mr. Smith, the company president. The atmosphere didn't seem negative, so I headed to his office without any particular expectations. I even casually hoped it might be about a promotion. I was offered a seat on the sofa, and Mr. Smith, sitting opposite me, held something curious in his hands. I looked closely. It was a photo of a woman. "Do you have someone you're seeing, John?" "No, I don't," I replied. Mr. Smith smiled. "You remember that delivery you made out of state? The young lady there seems to have fallen for you at first sight. How about a matchmaking meeting?" I was so surprised I was at a loss for words. That young and pretty girl fell for me? Unbelievable. "It's sudden, so I know it's shocking." "Take some time to think about it," he said, handing me a file. I accepted it. Inside were a resume and more photos of the woman. The woman in the photo was wearing an elegant beige dress and was indeed very beautiful. She was only 28. Why would someone so young and stunning be interested in me, a man 10 years older? Marriage with such a pretty girl. At that thought, Samantha's face came to my mind. What would she think if I went for this matchmaking? I returned to my desk, lost in thought. "Hey, John, what's up? You're zoning out. Is that photos?" I jumped his mic, who had noticed the file, quickly snatched it from me, and checked the contents. "Wow, she's gorgeous and only 28. I'm so jealous," he exclaimed loudly, unaware that Samantha was nearby. Hurriedly, I took the file back from him. "No, I haven't decided yet." "But you'll go for it, right? You don't have a girlfriend, do you?" "Well, yeah, but—" At that moment, I noticed Samantha quietly standing up, looking concerned. She started to leave the room. I quickly followed her. "Samantha, I called out as she was about to leave. She stopped but looked down. "John, are you going for the matchmaking?" she asked softly. "Well, that's—" I hesitated. I clearly didn't want to go because I was in love with Samantha, but would she accept my feelings? I wasn't sure. After all, we were so different. Then she said something unbelievable. "Please turn it down," she murmured. I involuntarily asked, "What?" She turned around and looked up at me. Her eyes were moist, and her cheeks were flushed red. "Please turn down the matchmaking. I like you, John." "No way. Samantha likes me. Samantha, beautiful, smart, and with an outstanding figure, like someone like me? Is this really, truly true? When I asked her seriously, Samantha nodded affirmatively. My heart felt warm with excitement. It was my first time experiencing mutual feelings with a woman, and I felt an overwhelming joy. I like you too, Samantha. Will you be my girlfriend? I took Samantha's hand, and with tears in her voice, she nodded, yes. Yay! Congratulations, Samantha. John, you actually won Samantha's heart. That's amazing. To my surprise, the sales team started appearing in the corridor. You guys were watching, I exclaimed, flustered. Samantha crouched down, saying, I'm so embarrassed. I wish I could disappear. Keep it down, everyone. Let's get back to work. I tried to calm the commotion. The women surrounded Samantha, excitedly chatting. Don't quit your job, even if you get married. John, you owe us a treat now. Mike playfully hit my shoulder. Get back to work, all of you. What's all this fuss about? Mr. Smith, the president, even showed up. Shoot. Just after the matchmaking proposal, I'd now decided to date Samantha. This was awkward. As I panicked, Mike reported to Mr. Smith, Samantha and John are starting a serious relationship with marriage in mind. Let's celebrate as a company. No, we're not talking about marriage yet, I protested. Is that so? Mr. Smith asked seriously. Oh no, is he angry? I stepped forward and bowed deeply to Mr. Smith. I'm sorry. It just happened now. I want to seriously date Samantha, so I must decline the earlier proposal. I braced myself for a scolding, but Mr. Smith laughed heartily. I always thought you two would be a good match. I never expected it to actually happen. Maybe I became a Cupid of love. He easily blessed us, leaving me relieved. I'll handle the other party. Don't worry. Congratulations, he said, placing a hand on my shoulder. Thank you, I nodded firmly. When I told my parents about my first ever girlfriend, they were overjoyed and insisted on meeting her. Reluctantly, I invited Samantha to my parents' house. Wow, your mother is so beautiful. Samantha seemed mesmerized. I'm not bragging, but my mom is beautiful. I don't look like her at all. Samantha, you played basketball, right? My mother asked. Yes, I played until high school. Really? But I quit in my freshman year. I injured my knee ligament, and even though it healed, I was scared of hurting it again. I understand. I hurt my knee too, Samantha replied, and they instantly hit it off with a common topic. Did your dad play sports too? Samantha asked. Yes, he was on the same basketball team in middle school and confessed to me back then. My mom started reminiscing. Oh boy, spare me. I thought, but Samantha played along, saying, well, making a childhood love work all the way to marriage is amazing. By the way, did John play any sports? The conversation turned to me, making me gulp. Ha, in our family, John was the only one not good at sports. He didn't do any sports, always playing video games, my mom revealed. You still love video games, right? They asked. They were getting along too well. Really noisy, but it seemed natural, not forced. Your blouse is lovely. Where did you buy it? Samantha shifted to fashion talk. Both, being well above average height, shared the common struggle of finding clothes. Seeing them get along so well, I felt relieved. Today was our date. I was meeting Samantha in front of the cinema. From a distance, I saw her approaching, but she seemed different. Almost everyone she passed turned to look at her. The reason? Her footwear. Samantha was wearing high-heeled sandals. Already tall, with heels, she was over 5'11". Her long legs and slim jeans were eye-catching. No wonder people were surprised. Sorry to keep you waiting, she said. Standing in front of me, Samantha's face was at the same height as mine. This seems novel. We're the same height now, he Does it appear strange? I've always wanted to try these shoes at least once. I gave a headshake. You look amazing. With a bashful smile, Samantha answered, Thank you. Naturally, we held hands as we strolled side by side. John, I'm happy I met you. Samantha laughed and said, I feel like you'll accept me no matter what. Yes, you are free to expand as much as you choose. I'll always be a giant tree for you, so lean on me when you're worn out.